To Syria now, where advances by rebel groups on government forces appear to be gathering momentum from both the north and the south. The news agency AFP quotes a war monitor and rebels as saying Druze militias are just 10 kilometers from the southern gates of the capital Damascus after snatching the southern province of Deraa from government control. The speed at which the armed opposition is advancing across the country has astonished everyone, with the Syrian army loyal to President Assad simply falling away. The civil war began in 2011, but the rebels outside Homs, now known as HTS with links to al-Qaeda, were forced into retreat 5 years later. Now they're back and in just 10 days have taken the whole of Syria's second largest city of Aleppo. Another major city, Hama, also fell to them, and now their sights are on Homs, Syria's third biggest city. But fighting there is intense. Syria's military says it's carrying out airstrikes in an effort to push the rebels back. A UK-based war monitor says those regime airstrikes near Homs have killed 21 civilians. President Assad's lightning loss of territory is due to his backers, including Russia, Iran and Hezbollah, currently fighting in other conflicts. Well, with me now is our Middle East correspondent, Sebastian Asher. So, Sebastian, several lines there in terms of what's happening around Homs, but also now a move towards the capital itself from the south.
Yes, I mean, the real impetus of this came from, as you mentioned, this group HTS coming down from the north, coming out of Idlib, a province where it sort of had been building its strength over the past few years when there had been a stalemate across most of the country. As you said, they took Aleppo, they took Hama. Now they're at the gates of Homs. We're hearing that there is fighting that's happening there. But energised by this, emboldened by this, other areas of the country which have been relatively quiescent and subdued for years, although that thirst for driving President Assad out has never really gone away. We're now seeing that revive, and that's in Deraa, which was where the 2011 uprising against President Assad began, after the security forces tortured several young people, and that was a rallying cry that then spread across the country. So it's not surprising that that has fallen quite quickly. What I've been hearing from people in Deraa is that essentially the situation in the city, the main city, is relatively normal. People are going about their business. The Syrian government forces withdrew, having been given safe passage. But rebels from there have been moving up towards Damascus. And some reports, as you're saying, we're getting from different sources. Again, we can't confirm everything, but they are very close now to Damascus, coming from the south, 10 to 15 kilometres from there. Now, these are different groups than the ones that are coming from the north. And at different times of the civil war in Syria, they've been at loggerheads. They fought each other. So this isn't a concerted effort by both sides. But whatever it is, for President Assad, obviously it's very, very bad news. And
just talk us through the response from the government's forces, but also, crucially, President Assad, because we haven't seen or heard much from him.
No, we haven't. I mean, there have been all sorts of rumours flying around. I mean, in the first few days when this happened, people were saying he's in Moscow, he's in Iran, whatever. There were pictures yesterday being put out showing him in Iran. I don't think that that is actually the case. But yes, nothing from him directly. I mean, there was one order that was given a few days ago. You talked about the Syrian government forces. They're demoralised, they're underpaid, they're under-equipped. That's been a problem for a long, long time, even worse now. He said that their salaries would be raised by 50%. I think it's too late for that to make much of a difference now. I mean, the real calculations, I mean, obviously President Assad has his own to make, but I think some of those are going to be going on in Qatar today, where the foreign ministers of Iran and of Russia, which both have been the key backers of President Assad, and Turkey, which has backed rebel groups, are discussing the situation. And I think, to some extent, that may lead to a decision perhaps between those about what the message should be to President Assad, whether the message is, look, we're not coming to your help. You've got to make up your own mind now whether you want to hold out or you think that this is the time to cash in your cards.
And Sebastian, just help us to bring all of this into context, because of course the war began back in 2011. Over the past few years, President Assad's position seemed very assured. He'd made his way onto the international stage, especially in the region. It's incredibly surprising that his government is so weakened within just a few days.
I mean, it is surprising. People have been taken, you know, and astonished by the speed of which it's happened. I mean, I think for people who've been following it closely, some things aren't surprising. One, that the government forces have put up such a poor showing. That isn't unexpected. That happened much earlier in the war. If it hadn't been for Russia intervening full on in 2015, President Assad might have been defeated then and forced out. Also, the state has essentially been hollowed out. I mean, it lives off corruption. It's almost a kind of narco state where the illicit trade in Captagon, which is an amphetamine that is used across the region, has been one of the main supports financially for the government and the people around President Assad. The area that he has controlled, about 60%, which is the main cities, the economy there has never recovered. I mean, what you have seen, though, which is correct, is that he has been pulled back into the Arab fold. He was essentially a pariah for years, but all Arab countries pretty much over the past couple of years have accepted